Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Laces Out podcast. That's right, it's the NFL podcast, and we have guests for you. We're doubling down on the guests, halving the workload, putting them to work straight out of the gate. If you are not subscribing, it's fine. We can change that right now. Click that subscribe button. We won't talk about it again. We won't even mention it again. We'll mention it every week, but you'll be safe. Seriously though, please do consider like, share, subscribe, comment, drop reviews, share the podcast around. If you've got an NFL fan in your life, send them this podcast. Who knows? They might even thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, Laces Out.
Recording in progress.
Here we are. We're mixing it up this week, doubling down on guests, and as you know, here at the Laces Out podcast, we like to put our guests to work. So there'll be unpaid interns. That's another word for doesn't matter. For you audio listeners, we are joined by the host of the Getting Over podcast. Do tune into the latest episode of Getting Over podcast. Stuart Woodmansey, supporting his Chargers over there in the corner.
Old school Chargers as well, as it is these days.
The old school. My school. Old school. And in the almost opposite, in fact, absolute opposite corner, we have our other guest this week. He is the friendliest giant around. It is the JFG. Mr. Forrester Gray, how are you, sir?
I'm very, very well. Good to see you all.
In what can only be described as your music studio.
Yes. Only the stuff that came out of it was any good.
It's all good. And this podcast literally could not take place without the co-host with the co-most, Paul Williams. It's not a football jersey. It does look like a Hop City t-shirt. So it's basically the same.
I mean, yeah, Hop City, NFL jersey, they're basically interchangeable in my house. So I felt it was perfectly adequate to wear to tonight's festivities.
I would love to wear an NFL jersey, but as we don't put the heating on in our house, it would not cut the mustard. I am currently at 2 layers, but it's not enough. So maybe I'll just put like all of my jerseys on, one over the top, like working them up in sizes, one over the top of the other.
This one's currently over 2 jumpers, so.
You see, that's the way I should have done. I should have got the biggest one I own. I should have got the 4XLs out and put it over the top of the jumper and been done with it. Always missing a trick. So, Paul, down there in that corner, where do we go from here?
Well, Andrew, usually with the guest, obviously we would cover their pre-season Super Bowl picks and their season-long MVP picks. But as both of these gentlemen have graced these fair shores already this season, we have no need to do such a thing. I mean, we always do have the option for them to return to the scene of the crime and see if they're happy with their
I was going to say, as soon as they've done it, they get a second pick.
So, Stu was the first guest to make a Super Bowl prediction and had gone with the Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with the Bills winning and Josh Allen to get the MVP. Are you happy with that selection, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have already been asked the questions if I want to change them again already. So I think I should probably dib out of this. I can't keep getting on just so I can try and win this at the end. This is not. So I will stick with everything that you have for me and just go with Jeff G changes if so required.
So you're going to stick with your Justin Herbert for the regular season MVP award?
It's a bit of a cheat. I just feel cheat if I change it now. I mean, it's absolutely not going to happen as much as I want it to, but I think we're too far gone. Unless he plays absolutely blinding for the remainder of the season.
If he nails it down the stretch, you might be back in with a shout. But James's pick was for the Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles, with an Eagles win and Jalen Hurts to be the MVP. Still happy with that? Oh, he's on mute.
You are mute.
He's on mute.
Oh, God. Podcast fail. Yeah, pretty happy with that one. A little bit of a wobble last week with the Eagles, but I think we will be fine.
And your regular season MVP pick was Josh Allen.
Still there. It's probably on track, although Big Paddy Mahomes is looking pretty likely, if I'm honest with you.
So what we're saying is everybody gets to re-pick their picks. Is that what we're saying? Like a season-long MVP kind of?
No, just guests.
I mean,
if everyone's allowed to, I mean, me with my Bills Rams Super Bowl pick, it looking too shabby at this particular point.
I just want my MVP pick back.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely fine because at least he's thrown more touchdown passes than he has bathrooms in his Denver home. Oh no, sorry, that's Russell Wilson, and he absolutely hasn't thrown more touchdown passes than he has bathrooms in his Denver
Week
home.
in, week out, there is a graph that they just keep adding to. And so far,
I saw a clip of a guy that was just going this week. Russell Wilson didn't throw any touchdown passes, but Ciara didn't add any more bathrooms into their home, so the figures stay exactly the same.
I think
I almost feel sorry for him.
I think the best one has to be the one that Matthew Moore sent to our group of the. This is what $250 million looks like, and it's just Russell Wilson stood in the middle of a field, just turning round. It's like
that was exactly what I was about to jump in with. James was saying that he almost feels sorry for him. And I was like, yeah, there's 250 million reasons.
Yeah, you can dry his tears with 250 million reasons.
But yes, as there are no season-long predictions to go through, we'll just dive straight back in with Week 11's picks. So 14 games in total to pick from. It was myself, Mr. Cook, and Mr. Moore was last week's guest, so 14 picks per person. We didn't have any duplications across the three of us, so it was a straightforward shootout. In last place, or third, is that you're still getting a bronze medal if you want to put it that way, I suppose. With 8 out of 14 picks correct, it is the podcast host, the podcast creator himself, Mr. Andrew Cook. 8 out of 14, better than half distance though.
Only just.
In second place, with 9 out of 14 picks correct, it was this week's guest, Mr. Matthew Moore. So taking the week with an astounding 13 out of 14 selections correct. It's this guy. Yes, that's correct. Getting another point for the yearly total round. So the collective guest with 2.5 points. Mr. Cook on 4 points. Myself on 5.5 points. There is the side bet to go through. Andy started the week on 23. I started the week on 27. Can Andy claw back some wins there, some points there? It'd be very difficult. Seems like I only got one game wrong. Yeah,
the first game of the week.
The one game that I got wrong was the New York Giants to beat the Lions. And what's this I see here in Paul's teams? It does say GIANTS. Oh dear. So I only got one game wrong on the predictions. Yeah, I still managed to put it in my side bet. So I only get 3 points for the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Washington Commanders doing the business. So if Andy can get a clean sweep, he will technically win the week and claw back to within 3 points of myself. He started off well. He had picked the Buffalo Bills to beat the Cleveland Browns. That is a tick right there. He continued with the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Los Angeles Chargers. They left it late, but they did indeed beat them. He also had the 49ers. You might want to close your ears at this point, James. Sadly, he had the 49ers to beat the Arizona Cardinals, which they did indeed do in Mexico.
Quite soundly.
Can he get a clean sweep with his 4th pick, ladies and gentlemen? It took place in the AFC North. The matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But which way did Mr. Cook pick? He went with the Cincinnati Bengals and gets himself 4 out of 4 picks correct, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, Mr. Cook. So for the side bet, Andy moves on to 27 points for the season. I move on to 30 points for the season, which is an interesting position when we come to the side of this week, because technically, Andy won the week. So technically, I can choose whether I go first, or put Andy into bat first, and then I would choose second. But before we get on to Week 12's game picks, I believe there are some juicy, delicious Week 11 stats for us to go through, Mr. Cook.
Yes, it's one of those things. At this point in time, I'll have to hold my hands up and say that I've done bad maths and I've given incorrect numbers of stats all over the place. So that's on me. The stats mistress was hard at work, cranking out stats. She contacted Nate Davis of USA Today to get us some 2022 season Week 11 NFL stats, and the first of which looks something a little like this. Sunday's defeat of the Jets has booted them from the AFC's projected playoff field, as they were overtaken by the Bengals, also 6-4. At the start of Week 11, the entire AFC East was projected to qualify for the playoffs. New York, 6-4, which would have claimed the first place in the AFC East with a win, is now in 8th place in the conference. Just goes to show a week can make all the difference. Atlanta's 27-24 win over the Chicago Bears came from a 103-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Cordell Patterson and a game-winning 53-yard field goal from Younghoe Koo, who, with less than 2 minutes remaining. Patterson now has 7 career touchdowns of at least 100 yards in length, 4 more than anyone else in the league history, and the 103 yards he converted on Sunday's touchdown run back, equaled the Jets' entire offensive output.
Offensive was the word for what they did.
So there's that. Wasn't there a stat about their entire play of like 2.77 inches per play? Was that? Stu, I believe I've sent you a couple of cheeky stats.
Indeed you have, and the first of mine is that Bears quarterback Justin Fields played impressively in his hometown, passing for 153 yards and rushing for 85. He joined Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray as the only players in the Super Bowl era to reel off 5 consecutive games with a rushing and passing touchdown. And my second one is Dallas Cowboys kicker Brett Maher helped outscore the Minnesota Vikings 16-3. He converted 4 extra points and drilled 4 field goals, 3 from at least 50 yards and 1 of those from 60. Of course, Mayer had a little help in Dallas' 40-3 blowout of a Vikes team that entered the game tied the league's best record at 8-1. Cowboys running backs Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, I always do that, combined for 236 yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns. Dallas also sacked Minnesota quarterback Kirk Cousins 7 times. Rough day at the office. Those are my stats.
Paul, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's you next.
Sorry, I couldn't help but beam with pride there at the Dallas Cowboys taking care of that naughty man in Minnesota.
Paul's entire stats roll is Kirk Cousins got sacked 7 times. And did you know that?
I might just replace all of these with, and in sack news, Kirk Cousins was drilled to the floor 7 times. Speaking of, it's almost Christmas time, ladies and gentlemen. He carries a sack.
Paul's going to switch to game footage and do a blow-by-blow breakdown of all 7 sacks.
If he falls it just here, you can see where his soul leaves his body.
Yeah, I'd like to just sort of like isolate all of the audio of each one of the sacks, just string it together, and that can be my new ringtone. But on that note, my stats begin with the Eagles overcame a 13-3 fourth quarter deficit to get back into the win column, edging the Indianapolis Colts 17-16. It did look as if they were down and out for a large portion of that game. They did look as if they were going to get it done, and then managed to. But that's Super Bowl contending teams for you there, ladies and gentlemen. The Buffalo Bills got back on track, ending their 2-game slide by besting the Cleveland Browns 31-23, even though Sunday's home game had to be moved to Detroit because Western New York was buried by snow. The Bills are actually back in Detroit this Thursday for the Thanksgiving game.
The Lions were just rinsing them on social media for that. Like, turn the lights off and lock up when you leave. And then
please don't break any tables.
Don't break any tables. That was the other one. And then they'd posted a picture of them sending them breakfast, which was just Timmy's all over the shop.
The Los Angeles Rams' Sean McVay has now lost 4 games in a row for the first time in his head coaching career. Probably safe to say that they won't be making the Super Bowl. But the less said about that, the better. And my final stat. The Lions upset the New York Giants 31-18, forging their first 3-game winning streak under second-year head coach Dan Campbell. And I'm sure he was thrilled about it as well.
Yeah, something feels wrong about the Lions winning, but that's just me.
They should always be losing by 2 to 3 points. Not much more. But plenty of points just get scored on all the time.
Like, if they win, it's like, oh, well, there's the one game they're winning this season. Cool. But now with 3-game winning streak doesn't sound right.
Isn't one of their traded picks now better than their own pick or something like that?
It's the Rams. So obviously the Rams are at 3-7. Actually, I think the Lions at 3-7 as well. But
there's some weird
4-7. No, they must be at 4-7. So yeah, so the Rams pick that they obviously gave up for Stafford is now going to be better than the Lions pick. That, well, yeah, just ridiculous.
James, I also sent you some stats to take us home.
You did indeed. I have them here. So, of the NFC's final 4 playoff teams, the Rams, the Bucks, the 49ers, and the Packers, in the 2021 postseason, only San Francisco, 5-4, currently have a winning record. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. The Washington Commanders smoked the Houston Texans 23-10 with mighty QB Tyler Heineke, and he was credited with the win while officially being named the team starter by coach Riverboat Ron Rivera, even with Carson Wentz poised to be coming back from a finger injury. So, yeah, losing your job to Taylor Heineke. I believe this one now may have the ship may have sailed on this one, but as the Niners lost on Monday night, that would move the Washington on 6-5 to winners of the past 6 into the NFC's projected playoff field. I believe that may now be water under the bridge for them. And finally, the Las Vegas Raiders prevailed in overtime Sunday in Denver, beating the Broncos 22-16. Wide receiver Devontae Adams' 35-yard touchdown grab from QB Derek Carr won the game, and Las Vegas ran the ball 24 times, every single one of them at altitude, no less, run by Josh Jacobs for 109 yards. All predictions of his demise were somewhat overstated this pre-season. He's been absolutely phenomenal. That's on my stats.
That is, in fact, the stats for Week 11. And as we like to say here, it puts a big, giant bow, which at this time of year is a thing. A giant bow on Week 11. But that does mean that we can forge on to Week 12. Paul, is it a full boat's worth of games?
Yes, as it's Thanksgiving week, all 16, but all 32 teams will play in some shape or fashion in this particular week, and then in week 13, we'll go back to having teams on the bye. So, as we've said before, it's Thanksgiving week in America, so the big day is tomorrow. So, to any of our American brethren, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Turkey Day.
Enjoy your holiday. Get yourselves all stuffed full with turkey, cranberry sauce, a little stuffing, a little bit of cornbread, maybe some pecan pie, and just wash it all down with some delicious Broken Skull IPA. Maybe a little bit of Mana tequila or something like that, just... No? You're all having the Rocks tequila? No?
You were doing
something. Stew for Christmas, maybe? No? I'll move on. So, our three games that will take place on Thanksgiving are the Detroit Lions in the usual 5:30 UK time slot. They will be taking on the Buffalo Bills. And from a predictions point of view, even though the Lions are on that 3-game winning streak, we all feel that the Bills will have just too much for them and will get the win. The second game of Thanksgiving is again the traditional Cowboys slot. So they are at home, and it's a bit of a tasty one where the New York Giants will be going in, licking their wounds after that defeat to the Lions last Sunday. And again, it's a clean sweep of predictions where we've all gone for the Cowboys to get the win. The final game of the Thanksgiving slot is the rotating third game, and this year it is the New England Patriots who will travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Now, myself, Andy, and Stu all feel like the Vikings are going to bounce back from that disappointing loss. It was a bit of a humbling at home to the Dallas Cowboys last week, and they'll get back on track with a win over the New England Patriots, whereas James thinks that the Patriots will get the win on this particular occasion. That is your Thanksgiving slot of games, and then we'll move to Sunday to finish off the rest of the slot, apart from the Monday Night Football, of course. But first up, we have the Denver Broncos travelling to Carolina to take on the Panthers in a game that I can honestly say absolutely no one, including Broncos and Panthers fans, will be paying any attention to. Andy, for some unknown reason, believes that the Broncos have got game. I have absolutely no idea.
Do you remember the season of the podcast where I decided that it was a genius idea to do a throwaway game of the week? And was just throwing points down the toilet because I was like, this is my throwaway game of the week. This would be my throwaway game of the week if I was still doing that absolute insanity.
Andrew. Well, myself, Stu, and James have gone for the Panthers to win. Sam Darnold has just been named the starter for this game, so this will be the third different starting Panthers quarterback of the season. Let's see if that can get any game going. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fresh off their bye, travelling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. No shocks here. We've all gone for the Bucs to get the win. We have the Ravens travelling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Shock horror. We've all gone for the Ravens to get the win there. Next up, the Houston Texans travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Again, we've all gone for the Dolphins to win here. Next up, we have the Chicago Bears travelling to New York to take on the New York Jets. Now, so far, I have had predictions from everybody, and it's a clean sweep for the Jets. However, I do need to check with James, as I believe his pick was the Bears, in brackets, if Fields plays. Now, obviously, we can't really leave that until the day for that prediction to be official. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, James.
He's going to push him on it. He's going to push him on it.
If you'd like the Jets or the Bears.
Right. So, latest injury report is that Fields says his shoulder injury is a separation and a partially torn ligament. So, I'm going to go out on a limb and go with the Jets for that one.
Okay.
Sounds really sore.
If it makes any difference, the Jets have today just said that they're going to be starting with is it Matt White?
Yeah, they've gone completely off book.
All right.
So they've benched Zach Wilson.
Yeah, they made a big deal about
the backup for Sunday. Flacco's in the backup spot, so he's basically he's going to try. I think he's going to travel with the team, but he's not even going to play. He's not going to suit up. So
I mean, at least Elijah Moore's going to get like 12 targets now. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. He's just there, just going. Just bring it in. Just bring the ball. Just bring the ball. Okay, so that is a full clean sweep for the Jets. Next up, possibly game of the week, dare I say? Outside of the Giants, Cowboys maybe. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. This is our first 50-50 split, ladies and gentlemen, where two of us are going for the Bengals, two of us are going for the Titans. Myself and James have gone for the Bengals to get the win here, whereas Andy and Stu are fully in Titans camp on this one. Next up, we have the Falcons travelling to Washington to take on the Commanders. Myself, Stu, and James have all picked the Falcons to get the win here. Andy obviously sees something he likes in Taylor Heineke. He's picked the Commanders. Let's see how it pans out. We have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And despite the man sitting there with the Cardinals jersey on, he has picked the Los Angeles Chargers along with the rest of us.
I didn't return the favour, clearly.
No, you did not, Stuart.
It's probably the right thing to do.
It's almost as bad as having a 49ers fan pick them to get to the Super Bowl on your podcast.
Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And despite their win over the Broncos last week, we have all picked the Seahawks to get the win here. The Rams. The moribund Los Angeles Rams travel to Kansas City for, oh good Lord, what could only be a mercy killing. I don't know if this is which is where they just put the nail in the coffin that is the 2022 Rams season. But yeah, we've all gone for the Chiefs in that one. The last one of the Sunday afternoon games sees the New Orleans Saints take on the San Francisco 49ers. We've all picked the 49ers here. The Sunday night football sees the Green Bay Packers travelling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And we've all gone for the Eagles there, even though obviously Aaron Rodgers started to get things going against the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago, but then came crashing back down to earth against the Titans last week. Finally, on the Monday Night Football, it's another game that I'm pretty sure no one is going to want to watch, as it's the Pittsburgh Steelers travelling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Myself, Stu, and James fancy the Steelers to get back in the win column, whereas Andy has picked the Colts. Interesting. Any particular reason why?
They've got a higher win record. Literally was my only thinking.
Wow. So that is the Week 12 picks. There is just the small matter of the side bet to go through, Andrew. So, I'm gonna just go ahead and pick straight away, and then give you the 2, and then the 1, and then the 2, or the 2, however it works. So I'll dive straight in, and obviously my first pick will be the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Los Angeles Rams. Your 2, sir.
I feel you're leaving money on the table there, Paul, because what you should have gone with is the Buffalo Bills to...
Thanksgiving does weird things to teams, man.
Just decimate the Detroit Lions.
Second pick?
It's gonna be a murder. In the past and recent past, maybe a bit of a weird pick, but I am going to take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Cleveland Browns. I know they've had a rocky season, but
I think that's a sound pick. No problems there. I do now get 2 picks myself, and I'm seeing 2 games right here that just jump right off the page. So I'm just going to dive straight in with the Miami Dolphins taking care of business at home to the Houston Texans. And I'm going to back that straight up with the Baltimore Ravens taking out the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your 2 games to finish us out, Mr. Cook.
There's a game I want to pick. It's just... Rodgers is too much of a... He's too much of an enigma at the moment. The Los Angeles Chargers to beat the Arizona Cardinals to keep on brand. I was going to avoid.
He sat right there.
I was going to
rude,
avoid this game like the plague. And maybe a little blast from the past for everybody who's been following us for 5 seasons. A little blast from the past. The Seattle Seahawks to beat the Las Vegas Raiders.
Very nice, very nice. I like all of those. I will close us out then, and I will take the San Francisco 49ers to take care of business against the New Orleans Saints. So just to clarify there, Andy's teams, he has the Bills on Thanksgiving afternoon against the Detroit Lions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Cleveland Browns, the Los Angeles Chargers against the Arizona Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks against the Las Vegas Raiders. I have the Chiefs against the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins against the Houston Texans, the Baltimore Ravens against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the San Francisco 49ers at home to the New Orleans Saints. That is your Week 11 roundup, Week 12 preview, done and dusted.
Big thank you to our guests, Stuart Woodmansey, JFG. Thank you both for coming on, sharing with us your picks. Obviously, the guests will get a double pick this week. Double team up to get that extra point. Maybe even an extra half a point. Who knows? Big thank you to my co-host who brings the book with him, keeps us all in line, keeps all those predictions ticking over, and helps me steer this ship while we discuss a sport that isn't even from our country. So, big thank you to you for joining us, listening, watching, both, neither. And we'll be back next week with Week 12 review and a week, unlucky for some, 13 preview. Until then, it's all these people here saying bye to you, and it's us saying bye to them, and we'll catch you next time. See you later.
Bye-bye.
So there you go, watching into that. Big thank you to James and Stu for being our guests this week. Doubling up on points means there's going to be a winner. Will he be the guest? Will it be either me or Paul? Find out next week. If you want to stay in the loop with the podcasts, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Drop in reviews you want to drop and share the podcast around. I keep saying it these days. It really is a good way to get the podcast to people. You can also check out our website. It's thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button for you to be able to get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode of CookieCast, please like, share and subscribe.